My name is Christian Ray, and I moved halfway across the country to build a blacksmithing forge from the ground up so that I could be part of the centuries-old tradition of making beautiful and lethal masterpieces out of metal. It hasn't been easy, but here we are. This is Ronin Blades. Hello, and welcome back to Ronin Blades. Last time, we started our handle construction, and today, we gonna finish it. To do that, we're over here at the workbench. And I'm going to show you a brand new process to make some really cool stuff. Now last time we didn't get started on our pommel because I didn't have the materials to actually make a pommel. And after some thought, I realized normal swords have metal pommels. Our sword is just going to be for display and costuming, so it doesn't need a metal pommel. So I have this. This is a spherical mold for casting acrylic resin. If you're not familiar, acrylic resin is a two-part system. You mix them together and it makes a really strong plastic. And that's been used to handle materials, handle scales. I've used it a ton before, it's great. And that's gonna be what our pommel is made of. And we're off to the races. Slowly. Pouring acrylic is a very delicate process. It mixes at a 1-to-1 ratio between the acrylic itself and the hardener. And you have to make sure that they're mixed together thoroughly. Once that's done, I mix in some steel pigment powder to give it a nice metallic look. And into the mold it goes, slowly to decrease air bubbles. In case you don't have a silicone mold, you can easily make a mold using corrugated plastic sheet and hot glue. Just make sure to get a watertight seal. And our molds are setting. Now this stuff takes about a day or two to fully cure, so we're going to have to wait. And that should do it. Getting the acrylic out of the mold is easy. You just gotta hit it with a hammer. I get the pommel drilled, then take it over to the grinder to put in the rough shape. I don't have to be delicate, as the polishing process will come later. What's most important is getting the final shape. But before I can continue with the pommel, it's time to revisit our handguard. And now that we have our handguard drilled, it's time to get the hole in it to match the shape of our tang, the same way we did with our ebony wood. That's where this comes in. This is a rotary tool, and if you're making a handguard, it's your best friend. It gets in the hole you made and makes it to whatever shape you want. Any place that is not accessible by a file, like this, is perfect for a tool like this. And just like that, the Dremel tool renders the hole in our handguard perfectly shaped for our tang. It fits the tang well, just a little bit off kilter. I then use a threading tool to thread the end of the tang so the pommel will screw into it. The handguard and pommel are ready for assembly. Now I just have to sand down the ebony wood. It takes a while. Eventually though, I get it to be a rounded shape, one that fits comfortably into my hand and won't turn as I swing the sword. I then do a rough assembly to make sure I match up all the edges perfectly so there's no gaps. Alright, so this part's going to be a little bit hard to film, so I think I just got to do it and try to do a voiceover later. Hope it works out. And it does. I quickly mix a 5-minute epoxy to use as the glue for the handle construction. I mix a little bit of black dye into it so I can replicate the effect of pitch, a substance that was used in the olden days for this process. Once I have the epoxy mixed, I slather it all over the end of the tang and inside the pommel, assuring that it gets in every nook and cranny. If I miss anywhere, it'll be a weak spot for the sword and it could easily pop off even once the epoxy has hardened. Finally, I use the epoxy to fill up any gaps between the pieces and let it rest. Once completely set, I use a Dremel to grind away the excess epoxy. Which brings us to the final phase of the sword making process. Buffing brings out the polish that we did earlier. It involves multiple wheels and multiple compounds of different efficiencies, but once it's all done, it brings out a beautiful shine. I use the buffing wheel on the handle as well to bring out the finished wood and finished acrylic colors. Once I'm finished here, my work is done. And that completes my first sword. I'm not a liar anymore. I had so much fun making this piece. I learned a lot, got to flex my muscles a little bit, and it's all finished. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being a part of my first sword making experience. If you liked what you saw, and you want your very own piece of Ronin Blades for yourself, please check out roninblades.org. I'd love to make something for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have a suggestion for a future episode, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Ha! The fun one.